Okay. Headphones on, just have a little test. I can hear myself in my headphones, so yeah, that works. How's it? I've got no feedback this time, which is better. Oh, okay. Testing.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Welcome to episode. Pete, where are we? I do this all the time. Episode
Number 9.
Number 9. Sorry for those of you who have subscribed and had about 3 false alerts in the last 5 minutes. So, quick recap. Pete and I wrote a book. Pete is still over the other side today. He's producer today. We've
Executive producer.
Sorry, I'm sorry, executive producer. He was paying and everything. Pete and I wrote a book, Agencynomics, and our editor said to us, don't write about lots of different subjects, just write about one thing in detail. We ignored her, wrote lots of things about lots of different subjects, but as such, we couldn't go into a lot of detail on some areas, so we're bringing special guests into our live podcast or vodcast show, and we're soon to be exporting this into podcast series as well, so we'll be available on iTunes shortly. Today wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for the wonderful Wire Hive. They donate all of their equipment to us. We run Agencynomics and Agencyphonics as a social enterprise and not for profit, and so we're truly grateful for all the support they give us, and they are available for anyone who needs cloud computing, help, support, consultancy, hosting, and actually, if we can look at Ryan is going to do his we shall not bow to sponsorship. No, but seriously, it's very generous of them, and we are truly grateful for all their support. They're good guys, and Simon, their CTO, spent a lot of time helping us set up this show. So, today's guest is a very good friend of mine. Well, I like to think he is, and also, I'm going to let him introduce himself, but improperly. But just to kind of surmise, really, Ryan is a very, very successful agency person who has built an agency which was called the Nice Agency. They sold the business to Karmarama a couple of years ago and became part of a much bigger enterprise, and eventually the business got sold on to Accenture. So he's been through a really organic journey from almost startup all the way through to being part of a much bigger group. He is, in my opinion, one of the greatest people that you can ever meet and talk around the subject of brand experience. We'll talk more about that in detail. And so welcome.
Thank you. I'm blushing already.
Oh, I tried to give you a nice intro.
Oh, thanks, mate. I'm really privileged to be here. Thank you.
Do you know how we met? Do you remember? Because we're like enemies.
Match.com?
We were like frenemies. Like we were competitors, but then we kind of met.
There's no such thing.
There's such thing as a frenemy.
No, there's no such thing as a competitor.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
we're in the same space, but I think it was a ski trip, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a ski trip. Yeah,
yeah.
That's right. We got a ski trip, and there was a few agency owners, I think.
There's a few of us, yeah. Tarek and James, and obviously
that's
Pete.
right.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good. So we met on a ski trip, and
in
then
love
you
straight
told
away.
me you had an agency, and actually we did quite a bit of work. Like we would introduce you because you did stuff on mobile apps, and I didn't really do much on that side of things. So we kind of referred each other business, and I think that's quite an important lesson, isn't it? Really early on, say it's always good. You're right. No such thing as a competitor in an agency, because actually there's so many nuances of what you sell, who you sell it to, how big you are.
It's absolutely the niche. And, even within the mobile space, when we were growing nice, the last thing that we really wanted to touch was games, for example. That's just kind of broad brush. I mean, there's so much work out there.
Yeah.
If you're really putting the effort in, there's so much work out there. You don't need to worry about the competition. You're better off sharing war stories and being a little bit more united, because the clients are the ones you got to watch out for.
Yeah. So do you want to just tell us a little, because I reckon I always say it's about half of the agency owners that we've had in, and former owners we've had in here, started in an agency in a role, and the other half just literally either left uni or had no experience and jumped in. But you did have a brief background in agency first.
Yeah.
So can you just give me a little bit of background on how it all got started, and then how did you end up, basically in Nice? And
how far do you want me to go back? I was born in Ashington.
in my previous life, I was. Let's keep it. I don't know. Just like when did you have your first agency job?
So I was it was at university. Is the short answer. Apologise now. I've got a really bad cough and cold. So
it's his Chinese thing. It's his Chinese thing. It's going around.
The coronavirus. Yeah. It sounds great. You just need a bottle opener.
And some lime.
I think I've actually got a bottle opener and a few bottles behind us.
So I was at university, studying marketing management. Hated university, and part of my course up at Northumbria was a sandwich course. So you do year 1, you do year 2, you get to year 3, and you've got to do like 6 months in industry. And obviously, you're not going to be working at kind of on the floor top shop. It's not like work experience anymore. And fortunately,
there's nothing wrong with working, by the way, at a top shop. I worked at Top Man.
I did River Island and USC.
I see best people work in retail.
Exactly. Good grounding. Well, that's a different story. We might come back to that. Actually, the best grounding is a restaurant, but that's a different story. So got the opportunity to start working as an account exec for a branding and shopper experience, shopper behaviour agency called FPP, and they were on fire. I mean, they were an amazing business.
Oh, they weren't literally on fire, so they weren't burning down.
Not literally.
They were performing.
They were performing really well. They had offices in Newcastle, Brooklands, in near London, or near here actually, Geneva, Stockholm, and big brands.
Newcastle, Geneva, Stockholm.
Yeah, all the important cities.
So, did they have that on the wall and the clocks and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, good.
But they had to use a digital clock for the Newcastle zone just because no one could read pointers in Newcastle.
Oh, is that right? We just lost half our audience.
Yeah, only the Southerners, I guess.
Yeah.
So then I was on the BD team to start with, generating new business. There was an opportunity in the P&G team, moved into that very quickly, and it was amazing. Why wouldn't you want to work in an agency environment? It was fun, it was creative, everyone was entrepreneurial, and it was a brilliant grounding in client services. And I was working with some brilliant people who also learned some great skills from, and it felt very natural. So rather than doing that for 6 months, I ended up stretching it out quite significantly. It was almost nearly 18 months, I think, that I did there. And the time came where I eventually had to go back to do my final year at uni, which I was dreading. And then Tarek from Think,
Yep.
it was Revelation Design at the time, actually.
It was called what?
Revelation Design.
I didn't know that story.
It's a revelation.
That's
a revelation. Good pun over there.
He was doing really well, but it was very early stages of the business. And he was like, "Oh, look, you've been doing this account management thing. Can you come and help me a couple of days a week?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, mate. No worries. Sounds great. Anything not to go back to university." And, a few weeks later, we were doing like 90, 100-hour weeks, and it was awesome. I mean, you're working with your best mate, everyone was friends, and we had a whale of a time. Yeah. And then 7 years later, I'd moved to London,
wow.
Helping establish the London office properly, because there was a bit of a shift going on to try and move our focus away from being regional to national. So
actually, I'm going to pick you up on this quickly, because the first time I actually met Tarek is the founder of an agency called Think. So for those of you who don't know, I actually walked into a room in London. It was it was called Top Cats. It was the top 50 people in digital in London in 2000.
I remember
6 or 7, 7 probably. And I walked down the stairs, and he'd sponsored that night. Like Think, he'd just gone to London. And I was like, why are you guys coming down here? He said, his non-exec, I think, had said, you've got to, you don't go to London, you're never going to grow this business, or something to that effect. I'm probably misquoting slightly, but you, obviously, you've come from the Northeast, and then you've worked in agencies in the Northeast. Do you think it's a necessity today to always have a presence in London? What's your kind of observation or not? Because you don't see many regional agencies go beyond a certain size, but then in this whole agile workforce era, do you think it will?
I think it's difficult, and
if you had an agency though,
I'd do it in London.
You'd do it in London, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as much as it would be really nice to do it somewhere that gave more of a lifestyle kind of business, the clients are in London.
If you're in America, where would you put it? Your dad lives in Florida, so you probably put it in Orlando.
No, he's moved back now. I'll
I'll
start in Norwich.
Of course, he's moved back.
You can make the tea. If it was America, it would either have to be either New York or
so you'd go
LA.
for the big city because
I think so,
because the concentration of
it's the brands.
Yeah,
you've got to be where the brands are because for me, growing businesses. Yes, okay, there's key dynamics. Like there's got to be an operation that will actually help you run the business. You've got to get sales, all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is it's a customer experience business. And if you can give your clients the right kind of experience, and if they pick up the phone and you can be around there for a flash, and that convenience, it wins.
Okay.
It wins.
That's just really good. Sorry to interrupt, but I think that's a really, really, we do talk about this a bit in the book, and I got a little bit attacked because some people said, well, it doesn't really matter where the offices are these days, it's where your people are because of the agile workforce. And I think maybe it is still moving that way, but still I agree with you. I mean, I lost deals because I wasn't based in London, and people never tell you that at the time, but you find out later on.
I think it's difficult, and I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer.
Yeah.
I know some great regional agencies who are really proud not to have a London base, and they are growing really well. It is possible. It's not like it's impossible. I think
weirdly, I find those agencies have more clients globally and internationally than they do
less UK ones.
For the guys that we work with in Scotland, a lot of the time their brands are much Europe and America and further afield because they're better at selling at distance. They're better at
and servicing at a distance. As well.
And servicing at a distance.
So the client's expectation immediately is they're already overseas.
Yeah.
So they don't feel like they need to see a full complement of a product team every time there's an under sprint review or proper meeting or pitch or whatever it may be. So immediately, and again, that's the customer service expectation management. Great expectations, really important thing.
Yeah. So Tarek opened in London.
Yeah. So we'll get
and
back
then
to
you
it.
moved down.
So I moved down here, and then
that's a big move.
Yeah, it kind of just happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tarek's a very good salesman.
Yeah, he is very persuasive.
So the next thing, you're living down here, and very good friend of mine from the start of the Think journey as well, Peter Lukanov.
Yep.
Hey mate. He and I got the opportunity to start Nice, and we launched in September 2009 with a completely empty pipeline report, 0 deals.
What?
Pete managed to bring some stuff over from his consultancy that he was running, so that kind of gave us a little bit of a head start there. But it was, open up your notebook on day one. It's like, right, where do we begin? But that was an amazing journey.
And you hadn't even grown up in London, either of you, had you? So you're kind of almost to a certain degree.
No idea. No idea. But it was brilliant. It was such an amazing journey. We grew that business over 5 years to one of the leading mobile product development businesses certainly in the UK.
What I loved about Nice was Pete and I about year before last, we went over to Boise, Idaho, to go and work with an agency right at the top of America, and we walked into this fantastic creative business, and we walked in and we just loved the fact that didn't we, Pete? Their brand, it just was so pervasive. Every touch point in that business, every handle, every glass, everything was just on brand. It wasn't in your face. It was what I'd say tiny, noticeable things. It's just subtle. And we went in there and we were like, do you know, none of the agencies that we have been into in the UK over the years at this level. Like, they just got the brand. They had their own merchandise, which maybe isn't necessarily unique, but even their own merchandise was cool, right? Their pint glasses, everything was so good. But you were probably the only other agency at that point. I would say there's an agency in Scotland now called Made Brave, I think, are also very, very good, where the brand is like, I would meet you and you'd have a way you presented your card to me with "it's nice to meet you" on the back, and I swear there was nice biscuits in there somewhere. Of course, there were nice biscuits, and it
classic.
But you really got the colouring and the brand experience was really strong.
It's the important,
tell me about that, because
the important word there is experience, right? It's not just about designing stuff and sticking a logo on stuff, right? And
it's not.
We were talking we at the agency dinner last night. We were talking about design language, and
we were hosting a dinner last night, and basically Ryan just stole the show and basically just, you were fantastic. Okay, everyone loved you. Right. Got loads of messages.
That's because you were feeding.
Gave us a night off.
Because you were feeding me with some really nice wine.
I just sat back and just let him run the whole thing. No, seriously. So we were together with an agency dinner. So yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about design language, right? And design language, yes, is obviously an important.
What does that
part.
mean, design language?
Well, design language is, it's not a logo, it's not a typography, it's all of these things, but it's about how a brand moves, how it sounds, how it tastes, how you can interact with it. And it's also down to all of the little micro interactions or micro points, touch points. And I'd like to say that it was intentional with Nice Agency. It's just the way that we developed the brand.
Yeah.
We had a very clear vision of what we wanted to feel like. And again, even with the word, and it was, good luck rather than good management, that word just stuck. And the name kind of took on its own meaning. So when you with clients are going, oh yeah, and you're reviewing, oh that's nice, and like you could kind of see them kind of catch themselves like, fucking hell, I just keep saying their brand name, and like kind of mentally condition people. But I think those little subtleties also were very important. We were always very keen on the tactile side of our brand.
Sure.
Pete always used to pull me up on this, but we used to spend a lot of money on business cards.
Yeah.
And print finishes.
I could tell. I remember.
But just so there's like little different dynamics to it.
My Pete used to pull me up on it too.
There's nothing wrong with a bit of extra foil blocking.
Yeah, we had foil, didn't we?
You got to have a bit of foil.
Yeah. And it wasn't from Sainsbury's.
Embossed.
Really good stuff.
Embossed foil.
But it was a very important part of our experience. We wanted to be memorable. We, in our heads, because bear in mind, when we started the agency, we were developing some really cool technology with Microsoft Silverlight, WPF, Adobe Flex.
Silverlight, there's a flashback.
Rich internet applications or readers. Yeah. That's why we started the business, because we wanted to make these really great single screen experiences, very rich experiences. And we thought, oh God, we're going to have to really kind of cut through here, because there were some big players in the market.
Second screen. Do you remember that? We used to use the word second screen.
Second screening. Well, that's why we get the mobile. But so we had to cut through. So the touch points, the experience, the way that we conducted ourselves, the way that we spoke, the way that we followed up, the culture, the tone, everything had to purvey through every single touch point, because we had a job to do. And, when we started the business, we kind of didn't really have any case studies other than the stuff that, Pete had been doing from a consultancy that we could kind of roll in, so we were lucky to have that. So branding was very important, very important. But that branding really worked, and 6 months after we started the business, mobile arrived. The iPad, the App Store, the iPhone 3GS, the classic. And, all of a sudden, there was an opportunity to build software for this smaller form factor and screen size. And that just felt very natural. We weren't hacking websites together. We weren't a digital agency. We were building software, like proper software. And it was logical. So, 6 months after that, we launched 4D on the iPad for Channel 4.
Yeah, wow.
Your point about brand experience and touch points and, people, that meaning a lot, that really meant a lot to Channel 4.
Yeah.
Like, they got that. Although it was an engineering first conversation, the design piece folded in very quickly before we started working on them. And, I think that brand experience is really important.
And I remember actually, it was a bit of a flagship client for you at that time. It was such a good piece of work. That
it was famous work.
Sold itself, yeah.
It was famous work. I mean, We ate out on that in pitch decks for such a long time. But it was innovative. I mean, we just got beat to the post by iPlayer, which was a little bit annoying. But it was arguably one of the better experiences. I mean, iPlayer has always been great, but I think the brand that Channel 4 has, or had actually, because they've changed quite a lot since, which, well, let's not go there. But the 4D brand and where the Channel 4 brand was, and the experience that we wanted to create, it was genuinely a Channel 4 4D experience. It wasn't just something that had surfaced on an iPad, and everyone knew it. Everyone knew it. I mean, everyone had it. It was like a multi-million download application, and it was good, but innovative because, and I can't take credit for this. This is all Pete, but we were building stuff on that device before it was even available.
Yeah.
Security around the content and the actual players themselves, and I mean, we were building stuff that just hadn't been built at that point.
Yeah.
So it was clever as well as good looking.
Yeah, and the two of you, I guess, were almost the perfect duo when we talk about agency. Because some agencies they have single agency founders, and we're going to do an episode soon on that, and actually how lonely that could be when you're the sole person running the business. You don't really have anyone to talk to. But when there's two of you, Pete and I. Do you agree, Pete? We said that's almost the perfect number, really, having two, because we're two.
No, I agree. It feels like the single owners are kind of quite lonely.
Yeah.
And they don't really have that kind of someone at that level to talk to. And if there's three people, then it's the old three's a crowd thing.
Yeah, I'm sure we know there's lots of successful three people, but we're stereotyping a little bit here, but the two seems to be the one that's always the best number, as long as they're a little bit opposite. And you two are kind of opposite in a way, because he's the geek, and
we're both geeks, the suit. But he's the smart one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm a geek, but I'm kind of more of a sales guy, right? And strategy person.
When we got into Karmarama, we ended up doing the Myers-Briggs.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, you must be completely opposite.
You literally couldn't have made it up. I mean, we were literally like polar opposites.
But I think Pete and I mean, obviously, executive producer Pete and I are. We're kind of very opposite, and it works well because of it. Because otherwise you've got two of the same. It doesn't solve the problem. So I think in a way it's really nice seeing you two, because actually one of you could build and stuff, and one of you, was almost like the marketing and selling. That's not to say you both weren't entrepreneurial. Both were.
Pete was brilliant on the front end as well.
Yeah, I mean, no, definitely. I mean, we were good network.
We were really, really lucky to have that match. It was. We used to joke it was the front and the back end of the pantomime horse.
Yeah.
You need both parts of it. A lot of partnerships start with, like a creative and then an account man, which is fine, obviously, if you're a design agency, but it just felt very natural that we had the depth of capability with Pete. It was almost like kind of you want to put it like a T-shape. And then we had the opportunity with some of my skills on the front end of the business as well. Although, oddly, I got then by Adobe penned as the designer.
Oh, really?
So we used to spend loads of time out in LA with Adobe Max.
I could see why, though, because you were very strong on user experience. And a lot of people now, when I go into agencies, they say our design team, right? And they mean the UX team. But actually, for me, a designer is someone who literally
look and feel,
does visual, right? Yeah. And so... But I could see why sometimes.
I think part of
they saw you as a creative.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Maybe it's creative, but also that kind of fitted their agenda as well, because they were building tooling that kind of blended engineering and design a little bit. So I think it was kind of that was a little bit of a side effect of their kind of marketing engine, but that also worked.
So I wanted to talk to you because obviously you grew very quickly. I could see a lot of parallels in our own agency journey P and I had, which is we also grew quite quickly at a time, and we had quite a strong niche in sport, and we were doing obviously back then. We were almost the prequel to your business, because we were like the early days doing the big websites, and then we kept talking about mobile, but actually nothing ever really until iPhone and iPad really hit the App Store, and it didn't really take off. So your timing was really good in some ways, but I guess my question here is, are you like, where was your business coming from? Because one of the things I always remember about you is you always played the long. Because we talk about B2B selling being a long game. A lot of people say it's a long sales cycle. It's not like a product. Sell feature, advantage, benefit. I have a need. I need a product. So go and get it. But with an agency, in a service sale, sometimes it's takes a long time to build the trust and to, wait for the client to have a need specifically, especially around when you're a new, like suddenly apps were new and there's a fad where people jumped on it. There's a lot of people who are almost waiting to understand what was the good business case for doing it. So do you want to talk a little bit about kind of your approach to new business? Because I think you are a bit of a legend when it comes to, that stuff.
Well, a couple of things there. One, actually, sales is never single channel, single focus, right?
Yeah.
And I think, when we went back to kind of the emergence of mobile, and our credibility from the investment banking space with desktop apps, and the fact that people just wanted to buy the new shiny thing, that was a good thing. So lots of inbound opportunity. Although, I never really felt that we cracked marketing very well.
It was quite hard to find a mobile sort of focused agency. I seem to remember, like an app age. Like everyone said, do you know someone that builds apps? I go, only real people. And I know there was a couple of other companies, but there wasn't many.
There wasn't many, no. And we were kind of a well kept secret as well.
Yeah.
But from a sales perspective, you mentioned long game. People are just so quick to kill something. And I think it's like a human nature. If it's a no, then, it's a no, and it's dead, and you move on, you just forget it, you don't kind of retain that information. But we always did very well of quite slow selling, relationship building, trust building, for one of the high street retail banks.
Slow selling.
It was slow selling. I think the longest deal I ever did was, I think it took like 5 years.
What?
To close our first project. Was it 5 years? Maybe it was 4 years. It was a bloody long time anyway.
Yeah.
And but it was worthwhile because
just nurturing in the background the relationship.
Yeah, and 3 client changes in the meantime as well, which was quite tricky to navigate. But I think if you're there,
you obviously really wanted to work with that brand.
I mean, that was the brand that helped us open up the retail banking sector for us.
Okay.
So that brand allowed us to move unintentionally. It was just the first one that closed, but it was a very, very good brand. It was First Direct. Very cool brand.
Oh yeah, which was a great bank.
Is.
Well, I say was because I used to bank with them and I don't anymore. But when I used to bank with them, they were good. I should probably have gone back to them actually.
Yeah, you should go back. It is a good brand, and the app is good now. And it took ages, but it's worth it. Because you build such a level of trust over that time frame, and when the timing's right, the timing's right. And some businesses just move slow, right? Utilities companies can, banks can, investment banks can, and you've got to gear yourself appropriately to the business that you're trying to work with as well. Not everyone is going to have a brief the first time you meet them. It's completely ridiculous to think that the chance of you bumping into someone who could be a potential buyer has got the right brief for you at the right time. I mean, the odds are in the millions.
But do you have to balance that with the people that do have a brief? There's almost like a slow seller, long game on one hand, and then on the other hand, there's still the kind of reactionary stuff.
Well, you need to have lots of conversations.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. One, most businesses don't have a broad enough or deep enough pipeline.
Yeah.
They haven't done proper segmentation into the audiences that they want to go after. And again, we were talking about it last night.
Right, yeah.
It's like, who do you focus on? It's like, well, I want to focus on...
It's a great exercise here. Who is your perfect client?
Yeah. And what sector
and how many people do that? Not many, really.
I don't think people do it well enough. And I think...
Yeah. What does well enough look like to you, do you think? If you had to design the perfect client.
The perfect client would be you, Spencer.
Oh, of course, it always is. But you know what I mean? Like, is it someone's... Is it someone's job title? Of course it is. It's the company they work for, the brand you want to work with. Is it the way that they work? Like if they're a relationship buyer or a value buyer, you don't want price buyers. Do you? How detailed do you go? Is it CSI board sort of level?
Whether you write it down or not, I think it needs to be ingrained in your psyche. And I think gut, because people can sit and architect stuff and write stuff out and build these personas, but it's frankly bullshit a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I think the person who's the principal and the seller needs to have a very strong internal gut qualification criteria to go, when you really get down to it, are they the right people to be working with?
Yeah.
But if you take that right up, you can put a methodology in place. Firstly, is it just as simple as going, I want to work in finance, travel, and broadcast? And sometimes that can work.
Yeah.
But sometimes, that's a vertical, but sometimes you need to take a horizontal approach. So what is the problem that you're solving rather than necessarily the sector that you're working with? Then you need to go, right, well, there's a matrix. I can start to segment the population. Off the back of that, then you can go, well, what do my Goldilocks brands look like? Because some brands are going to be too big and some brands are going to be too small. So you get the ones in the middle that are just right. And then you go, fantastic, right, well, now we know the brands that we want to start working with. Then you can do the job title thing. And then you can do some research.
The number of employees they've got should give you a good indication of how large they are if you can't find that data.
Get the employees. You can also look at the job titles. So you might, product development agency, you're going to go, well, it might be CEO, depending on the size of the business. Could well be CMO. Ideal if they've got a chief product officer. Might even be CTO, CIO.
CIO, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But again, then the size of the business, if they haven't got a chief product officer, for example, then they're definitely at the bottom end of the spectrum, unless you're a tech startup or whatever. And again, the variables are kind of limitless. And then you do your research. You go, well, let's look at the individuals, because by the time you create those job titles on the Goldilocks brands, you can then start to say, well, there's going to be somewhere between 3 and 15 people that we should be talking to on every single bit of business. Then you can look at those individuals and go, right, well, what does their experience look like? Are they heavy hitters? Are they not? You can start to score the brands within that as well. And then again, you can start to prioritize them. Well, I'd love to work with that brand. That brand's digital offering is crap, so they're going to be easy to get to.
Yeah.
And then start to work out your strategy. So are they leading and needing to innovate maybe at a faster pace? Are they being left behind the competition, so they're challenged? So that kind of challenged model as well. And then start to get detailed on the data.
Yeah. And so you guys, how would you, once you've identified who you want to target, how did you then, what was your next step to try to get to this? Because I probably didn't have I don't think I had that level of detail. I certainly knew, I had a list of the brands I wanted to work with, which would have loosely fit the criteria. And I certainly, for example, I had a list of sports brands, and I knew that where all those people hung out, I was talking about this last podcast. There's about 4 or 5 events a year in sports, so you just go to, and over time, a couple of years, you get to make friends with everybody. But what was your approach with that? To
again, multi-layered.
I think I really like this multi-layered thing, because I think that's what I'm learning more than anything is there is no silver bullet.
There's no one thing.
Yeah.
It is a 4-dimensional model, right? I mean, and your own gut has to play a massive role in that. We did really, really well with referrals.
Okay.
Really well. And I know, you talk about, and I was obviously doing some research, I was listening to some of the old podcasts, and you talk about agency on agency referrals. We did okay with that.
Yeah.
Actually, what we did is we did really well on brand-to-brand referrals. And we followed clients around. I mean, everyone must do this. We followed clients as they moved.
Yeah.
So make me famous, get a better job, follow them around. But it was quite strange, actually, how well we did from, Channel 4 referred us to Channel 5.
Yeah. So in our new business survey, the number one way that new business leads were generated was through a client referral. So what you describe is absolutely, especially if you do a good job, and also if you ask for the referral, because some people don't ask for it. So that says a lot really about your business doing good work.
And the other part of the referral was, and again, lots of agencies do this, but we picked technology partners that we felt were appropriate for us. So one of the reasons that we got the initial referral into Channel 4 is because, it originally came from Nick Bell, who is Chief Product Officer at News UK, who referred us into a company called Uyala, which was a online video platform, like a video CMS and video player, who then referred us into Channel 4, and then kind of the whole thing came together. But we strategically aligned ourselves with Uyala. I mean, it was the best technology out there, and the people in the business were brilliant. So again, kind of culture plays a big part in that. And we worked very closely with them, and we made some specific technology choices around the sectors that we wanted to work in. Yeah. And again, that worked really well.
So the strategic partners you had were technology companies, and it was almost like their customers and their network were people that they could plug you into, and in a kind of a more trusting manner, right? So So that's quite smart.
And Uyala were like, seriously funded. They were
Yeah.
a proper tech startup out of Silicon Valley. And they were
Well,
mopping
I had
up.
the same thing with NTT, right? Because I used to do all my hosting for NTT
Yeah.
before I started using Wirehive. Sorry.
So who?
We're going to get some fun stuff with that. And so, they were big in sport, and all their customers were Champions League. And again, you don't win the business just because of it, but you get the introductions and you get to meet people. When the opportunities come up, you're on the list.
This is the thing.
You're on the list.
You're not pitching cold either.
Yeah.
And, you're talking about multi-layered. I mean, like the multiverse of madness, in terms of like how deep you can go on this. But I've talked when coaching people on sales, I talk about the back channels.
Yeah.
And, it's not about having one referrer that puts you in. It's about having multi-conversations around the person who's trying to close the deal. That's how you're going to win the business.
Yeah.
So the referral in is the first warm bit, but you've really got to work hard to man.
Because we had this the other day with a client who's pitching, and in fact, we're going to talk about pitching and the no pitch agenda as well. But what had happened was the brand had asked 4 people in the business to each find an agency and recommend them in. So of course, every agency had its own stakeholder that had been brought in by a different person. So they're all fighting for their own. So it's quite funny how you've then got to work your way around these other people and convince them that you're the better option than the person they found, but it's almost undermining their decision of who they found or who they recommended.
Well, the problem is if you try to do it at that point,
yes,
you've probably lost the pitch.
Yeah.
The whole point is you've got to be building those relationships and building that trust way in advance.
Yeah.
Way in advance.
Yeah. So actually, we'll jump onto that. So the conversation about, because I get in the book we talked about about pitching, and I found that there's a lot of other books, sometimes a lot of other books on agencies where they kind of missed out the bit about pitching, and it is an integral part on the whole of agencies, but it's a very, very contentious subject because obviously there's some well-known books in the marketplace that talk about the pitch-free agenda, and when you take the moral high ground, often it can seem really unfair that agencies have to pitch for free to try and win work from clients, where really they should, in reality they should pay, but pay for the work to be done and run it through some kind of better process. But the fact is they don't, and it doesn't really work like that. And so some people say, well, you should just say no to pitching and you shouldn't do it. And some people say, well, you've got to kind of go with what what the market is, right? You can't just turn things away. So, but it's interesting because when I look at all the people that I know that have gone to let's say a no pitch agenda, and this is just my personal experience of going to lots of agencies, a couple of times they've gone bust because they said no to pitches. They said, and they only tried the other way. And I'm not saying that's, I think they probably could have taken on some pitches and maybe had some business coming in. The second thing is that when they did pitch and they said, we're not pitching anymore, they were really badly qualifying. So they were just going for anything. And I think in the book, what Pete and I tried to say was, it's okay to pitch as long as you understand your mathematical chances of winning it. For example, if you watch a football match or you bet on the horses and you know that the horse that you're betting on has got a 1 in 10 chance of winning, well, you're probably not going to put a bet on it because the odds are against it. But if the odds are 8 in 10 chance of winning, you might go for that opportunity. So I always say the more you qualify, the better the odds are. And therefore, then it doesn't seem bad pitching because you're not wasting money because you're investing it in potentially new business. So I don't know. That's my kind of quick summary. What's your take on it? You've been doing this a while as well. And
you've got to have to pitch. I mean, it is difficult because from experience, I think most clients have an idea of who they want to work with.
Yeah, we've all been there, right? Where you've had a relationship with someone and they can't say, oh, we want you to do it, but we've got to go out to tender maybe.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you could lose those deals,
right? You can sometimes, and this is why you should still pitch.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the incumbent can be complacent. And, you need that drive, that kind of intensity of a pitch situation to push your team out of their comfort zone and really try and come up with new stuff. I mean, we would update our credentials deck every single time we pitched. There'd be a new version that would come out of every major
I think we were
pitch.
probably the same.
And I think that's really healthy. It's really healthy because you're always stress testing it in a real world environment.
Yeah.
It's difficult to just sit back and write a creds deck. It just never really works.
Yeah, it's an evolutionary thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but on that kind of pressure is where you get the good results as well on that kind of thing. So I think you should most of the time pitch for stuff because you never know when you're going to catch someone out. Knowing that there's probably someone who's kind of favoured or an incumbent that you're going to have to deal with. But, sometimes you can win those, and I think it is worth a gamble. At the very least, if you're pitching into big enough businesses, you might not win that one, but you've done a good enough job to show that you're a serious player, and there may be some more work.
Yeah, and as your point earlier on, a lot of people
almost give
up.
It's lost. I'm never going to pitch them again. Right, they're just going to go in the black hole.
That's really true, isn't it, Pete? How often do we ever hear anyone saying, looking at the lost list that they have, most of our clients have been about 50-50, I'd say, in that kind of...
Keep building the relationship.
Yeah,
you never know what you're going to sell.
how many actually... In fact, something? There's actually a client who we both know. I know you've been in there recently, and they said to us, we did these walk and talks, and the owner showed me his phone. He said, this was the guy that helped me win the biggest deal we ever had. And he'd never spoken to him. He referred something in. He went back. Like 5 years later, the guy goes, oh, just when you got in touch, I've got something else for you. So not only did the deals you lose, but sometimes the people that have referred you stuff in the past, people are always moving forwards. And that's why I mentioned this in the last episode. Dave Burkus, this guy in America, wrote a book called A Friend of a Friend. And he talks about the power of your untapped existing network. Everyone's always looking for someone new, but actually what you've got, there's so much more in there.
Yeah.
And I think actually UFC is an example of that. That multi-billion-pound franchise came because two old school friends got back in touch with each other, and by coincidence, whatever, they were both looking to do something, and they, So I think I've learned something. That's a big takeaway for me today. I think to go back through the deals you've lost,
keep building a relationship,
and I'll create a process.
Unless you genuinely fuck it up, right? I don't think.
But even then, sometimes time heals a little bit, I found.
I think there's I agree. I think there's very few situations where you can't go back. And you've got to work that little bit harder. If you genuinely did fuck it up, persevere, because, again, kind of the human dynamics of it, the fact that you feel that you need to try and you're trying to repair, that does, as long as you're not trying to pitch into a complete and utter wanker, at least they've got some level of empathy in their brain. You know what? You never know where that's going to go. Yeah. You never know. And
I think the truth of it is having been on the other side. So we won a very large rugby institution's website. I won't name who it is, but we lost that deal, didn't we? We were 8 weeks. We won it, won the pitch. You know how much hard work goes into winning pitches. And then 6 or 8 weeks in, the producer that worked on it slipped up, didn't communicate to the client the timelines. Big lesson learned. Our project managers after that always managed the producer's timeline. Lesson learned, but we lost the deal, and it went back to one of the other agencies. So
that's why you should always keep.
I kind of think that we probably stole it from them in the first place by disrupting the pitch, and they were waiting for us to slip up to go back to them. But it is a good example of why I do like that a lot. I think there's definitely something around us. Maybe it's just an innate thing in always looking to move on to the next deal, and not looking at
make the most of the stuff that you've got. Yeah. Like I said, if the business is big enough, again, digital product example. All right, fine, you lost the iPhone application, but where's the Android application? Or, what's the next thing coming out? They might give you like a petty project to start with. It's like, I'll go and deal with this Alexa thing over here.
Yeah. What would you say the balance was between you going in to organizations and having a solution, but with prospects rather than existing clients, but would you take in ideas to them often, or were you always going in listening to what the problem was? I know the world's different now because we run agile processes and we have problem framing workshops and we do all that kind of stuff. But back in the day, would you go into the client with ideas and say, here's 10 ideas we have, or prospects, sorry, here's 10, or would you try and go, what's the problem? Was there one or the other approach, or was it a bit of both?
It was all of the above. It was all of the above. I think it's always difficult to keep utilization high enough, especially as you're growing. There's always going to be a few peaks and troughs. And using that downtime to pick brands that you've either got kind of within arm's reach or maybe it's a couple of degrees away, coming up with some interesting ideas. You've got some free design or tech time, do a proof of concept, do some design concepts, come up with a new idea, come up with a name for a thing. And, at the very least, you will continue to build that relationship.
Yeah.
Or move that relationship onto the next level, even if they don't buy it. But, I mean, we did win some significant bits of work by speculatively going, right, well, where's the gap? Here's an idea. Rolling the dice a little bit, going, well, look, if you like the sound of it, why don't we go away and do a little bit more work? Yeah. And then we did sell a couple of major deals.
I would always do that with clients, but I was always nervous with prospects because I'd always know they'd have to, and that goes back to your long game thing. Sometimes I'd be thinking, they're going to have to go and find budget and get internal, that's priority.
Yeah.
So I was always trying to find, the existing clients are great, take ideas, and I think always have, but with the new business people, I was always more nervous of taking ideas.
But then your gut needs to come into play again. It's like, look, can I trust this person? Are they senior enough?
Yeah.
Can we build a significant enough business case? And we did do some.
And how important is relationship to you with the client in terms of, the relationship beyond just the work? I mean, does it matter to you or not?
I think.
Did it matter to you?
I mean, it absolutely does matter, and I think.
What difference do you think it made to the work you got? Do you think it made it different, better, or safer, or?
I think I don't know. I don't think it changed the work.
No,
because I wasn't responsible for the work really.
Yeah. But did they take more risks with you if you were, or did they listen to you more? Do you think if you knew them?
Definitely
personally?
The trust factor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're beyond a supplier at that point.
Yeah.
And having that relationship doesn't mean you've got to take them out for dinner all the time or beers, whatever it is. It's like genuinely just connecting with them on a human level.
Yeah.
But the trust factor. Yeah, the trust factor really does come in. And when things go wrong, you can lean back on that as well.
Yeah.
Because things will go wrong.
Yeah, it's true, actually. I think where I have my best relationships, my client, if there was a problem, they would always ring me up and say, just give you a heads up, it's not going right. I'm just telling you now because, and you'd get, whereas the clients that you weren't close with, they just would ring up and just scream at you once the problem had happened, so.
But that goes back to the point about back channel.
Yeah.
Having enough people marked at the right level, whether it's an existing client or a new client, you need to be able to have conversations at different levels all the
That's
time.
why the owners should always try and step away. When they're growing the business, they should get the account managers to go in. They should try and make sure they're working on a different level rather than trying to think they can do everything themselves and step in for that reason, because then they have one back channels, as you call them.
Yeah,
that's good. So cool. So what are you doing now?
What am I not doing?
Obviously, you went through the whole cycle of being bought and then owning a business and then becoming an employee again.
Yeah, so we sold the first time to Karmarama.
Yeah.
Match made in heaven.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I couldn't pick another business that would have been better than going to Karmarama.
I never hear anyone say anything bad about Karmarama. Everyone always has such nice
but the people are amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, genuinely, it was a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
And that was great. And then the Accenture deal happened a couple of years later, which was also brilliant. Again, kind of for Karmarama, that was the right deal in my personal opinion.
And a real game changer in the market. Consultancy business coming in, buying a creative shop, and you're making a real statement on the landscape.
Well, exactly. I mean, I don't think we were the first globally. And disclaimer: these views are all my own. But why on earth would Karmarama want to go into a WPP or a Publicis or an Omni? I mean, a business like that with such a fierce culture.
Yeah.
And now you might say, well, why Accenture? But actually, they were buying us for that specifically. They wanted to retain that, and it was great. I mean, the rest is history. I mean, I spent 2 years in that business. We continued to grow the organisation, brought on some brilliant new business bits of business, achieved some amazing things. But for me, we were getting to the world of like 450, 500,000 employees, and that kind of opportunity to be entrepreneurial.
Weirdly, something you just said then about Accenture. I actually think that a lot of the management consultancy businesses and the let's say the former large accounting practices, I think they've become better businesses as a result of getting more involved in tech and agencies. Because, I mean, I've seen Deloitte this week, launching their whole sort of environmental sustainability feedback and everything. And I think these businesses never really used to do that stuff. I just feel like now, I think the agency impact, because agency tech businesses are always the first to create better cultures, different types of working, flat structures, remote working, all of those things have come from agencies and tech business. I mean, tech businesses have remote working for a long time. I actually think I see now a lot of the behaviors of those big consultants becoming almost more like agency and tech businesses for the better, because I only have friends who've worked in those big practices, and they always sound like they've been quite big machines where they haven't treated the people very well and stuff like that. And they're actually, I think there's a big change there. So I do think it's been
I agree.
a reverse positive benefit for them.
And honestly, the people that I got the opportunity to work with in Accenture, they are probably some of the smartest people I've ever worked with. Yeah. And they are smart about the culture as well. So they're a culture of cultures. And, the Fjord guys had a slightly different culture to us. And, I mean, they're going to mop up. Yeah. They're going to mop up now. They are going to just clean up. So skilled, yeah.
I made a joke. You probably remember this, Pete. I'm trying to think what we were with our friends in Woking. We were there feels like about 6 years ago. Actually, when did Fjords happen? That was one of the first big.
In 2012.
Yeah, something like that.
2012. Yeah. So I probably made a prediction 7-8 years ago where I said, "How long will it be before Accenture, Deloitte, or KPMG merge with WPP?" I thought the two will at one point, because I think KPMG and WPP at one point both had like 42,000 staff. They probably got double, treble that now. But I always thought that would at one point it would just come together.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see. I think one of them's got to at some point, because Deloitte are now the biggest digital agency, I think, aren't they? IBM over there.
Accenture.
Oh, Accenture are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But is that because they got sub brands now, or is it all under Accenture? Because Deloitte had digital, didn't it?
Yeah, well,
check my league tables.
Accenture's got interactive. Yeah. So that's the equivalent. UK tables, last ones I saw, Accenture interactive were way out in the lead. Yeah. Way out above Sapient, Deloitte Digital, all those guys. Yeah.
So one of your other pet hates that I know about is that when you meet other agency owners, you want them to be able to say what they do really quickly and really easily. I once caught Ryan giving one of my clients a really, really hard time about not being able to explain his proposition.
Yeah, that was in the bar after Digital Pods, though.
Yeah, so, if he's listening, we should say, it's probably the worst time to have a conversation about. Yeah. But anyway, but it's something that does frustrate you a little bit, to be able to communicate exactly what the agency
I think
is
it's important. I think it's important. And, when I get into these conversations, I'm deliberately provocative because I want to help them out.
Yeah.
Because if we've done some recent work with one of your clients as well. The brief was, I need to be...
Ryan is for hire if you need to sort your proposition out. Sorry.
There's no discount code for Agencynomics.
No, just enter in Ryan4567.
They wanted to be able to...
Find him on LinkedIn or somewhere,
They wanted to be explain what they do at a cocktail party.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a great brief.
Yeah.
But it's got to be meaningful.
Pete would be a margarita.
Not as a cocktail.
No, I know. I'm just joking.
So it's important, because you don't really get much of an opportunity to
I was always told you got to be able to tell your gran, so your gran can understand.
Yeah, or your kids. And I don't think that necessarily works, to be honest. No, but
my gran
I think you should be able to, I always work in pyramids. So what's the thing at the top of the pyramid, like the one-liner? It's like, for one of the versions that we had at NICE was mobile first brand experiences. And it's like, okay, nice. I know what that means. I know you do mobile.
Yeah.
I know you empathetic to the brand. There's a bit of customer experience in there. Yeah. And with the mobile first bit, it's like, actually, you must do more than just mobile. So you start to bring in the actual dynamics of what you want to explain.
Yeah.
And really the sole purpose is hook that person in to go, tell me more. And then you can go deeper down the pyramid, depending on where your conversation is, and start to build that relationship with someone.
And it was a wonderful example where you went, I'm not going to name them, I'll let them come in and tell the story, because they filmed every single member of their 50-man agency describing what their agency does, and they literally had 48 different answers
before I went in.
Before you went in, yeah. And so the trick will be afterwards. The video does it, But it is true. I mean, I remember when I had my business. I thought, actually, if I asked everybody, I don't think we would have had one single answer. But the power of having that, because in fact, that particular agency had 2 £1 million deals referred to by its team members in the last 12 months. So if your team members can explain what you do, and it might only happen once in 5 years, but there happens that Uncle Johnny happens to be head of digital for Sony or something. He said, "What do you guys actually do?" And you say, we blah 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 blah. Yeah. Then actually, that could be that one moment of magic. Or it could be I don't know. We kind of do stuff, like
Everyone should be able to sell.
Yeah.
And I think that, going right back to the start of the conversation and brand experience, everyone should have enough of an understanding to confidently talk about what we do. They don't need to know everything, but you should be able to explain in simple words like, we do this, and we've done this for this company, or we did this for that company, just to tell a little bit of a story. And again, because you just don't know who you're going to bump into.
Yeah, it's good. It's good advice. So is that what you're doing now? So what are you actually doing now? So you've come out of. If you had enough of agencies like me, you sort of. I wouldn't do another agency. I love agencies. Right? I love helping other agencies. But you wouldn't start another agency now, would you? Oh, you might do, Pete. He's sort of
breaking news.
I don't know.
You've probably still got a non-compete, haven't you, or something?
No, I'm not that. I've got 2 ideas for an agency, or 2 different agencies. But
you're a brave man.
I'm hesitating because
everyone
obviously
listening is going, really.
I'm registering trademarks right now.
RyanHall.com.
No, that's $20,000 to buy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I got it for $4. You can have it.
It is $20,000 if you email. Hi, my name is Ryan Hall. I'd like to buy the domain name. Isn't there someone famous in America called Ryan Hall?
There's an athlete and there's a wrestler, and I'm neither. So obviously, I left the world of management consulting to start a luxury perfume brand.
Yeah, of course you did. Yeah, because you're an expert on product. That's why.
Exactly. Products. Vaunt. Yes. Fragrances for expression, not suppression.
Yeah.
So that was really kind of my antidote to consulting agencies, all that kind of stuff. And it was my opportunity to really get deeper into brand, value proposition, and product. And actually have something that's cellophane wrapped and sits on a shelf is great, really great.
And we had a good conversation about that because earlier on, we talked about the important ingredients of the brand. What do you call it?
Design language.
Design language. Sorry, my brain's gone. Design language, but actually, smell is an important part because actually, I was telling you about my personal brand journey, and you were going, "Well, what's your smell?" And I was like, "Really? I got to have a smell." So, and then you talked about.
You do have a smell. You
I do.
wear the same perfume.
No, I do. I know because of you. I now have a personal part of my personal brand.
It's all part of it.
Is the smell. And in fact, it's so funny because a friend of mine said the other day, "I really love your aftershave." It's Victor Rolf Spice Bomb.
Yeah.
He said, so I went and I got my wife to buy me some. I said, "It's expensive." Can you go and get some? So she bought it, and he said, "Every time I spray myself, I think you're in the room and I can't wear it." And I thought, actually, but that proves the point. The point is he associates the smell with that person. And so...
And what perfume and smells, scientifically proving...
You told me Tarek had his own one as well.
Tarek's got his own one.
And also Ash Jones, I feel if you met Ash Jones.
No, I don't know
He
Ash, no.
was the guy who worked with Stephen Bartlett. And he said Stephen Bartlett has a smell too. And I was like,
You've got to have a smell.
So
You've got to have a smell. Scent memories, right? It's the biggest trigger for the brain. Smells are guaranteed to bring back memories better than anything else.
Yeah.
And I think it's important.
Yeah.
I think
it's a really
I'm
great
wearing
twist.
my personal brand.
Chorus for men.
I have Chorus.
That's like the one you have with
Chorus.
My dad still wears it.
Insignia and Chorus. They were the most people listening. Sorry?
Hi, Mum, by the way.
You're what?
I said my dad still wears Chorus.
Does he?
And I forgot that I hadn't said hi, Mum.
Oh, hi, your mum's listening.
Hi, Mum.
Hello, Mrs. Cool.
I heard Mrs. G's listening as well, but she's probably signed off by now. Oh, what's this?
This is my personal scent.
Right.
This is Comme des
Is that
Garçons.
22 carat platinum?
No. It's probably...
I didn't know they still did Lynx Java.
Yeah,
It links
I
Java.
decant it and put it in a different bottle.
Links Java.
Comme de Garçon 2.
Oh, Comme de Garçon, yeah, it's very
two.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's my personal scent.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'll have a little sniff in a minute.
You can have a little sniff. Go on, have a little sniff now.
There you go, pass it over.
Yeah, so that Vaunt was the opportunity for me to get into that much more. Are you not putting it on top of Victor and Rolf, are you?
Oh, yeah, it's worn off by now. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's really nice.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
That's really
Check
nice,
it out.
yeah.
Very good
Do you
entry
work for
level.
them? Do you know what? You could be one of them influencers, and you could
Well,
like
imagine.
Comme de Garçon.
Also sponsored by.
One day, a box of Comme de Garçon after show's going to
wish.
turn up here.
We're hoping.
I can only pray one day we get a sponsorship deal.
Last week we kept mentioning different types of scotch, but nothing's turned up.
Yeah. Johnny Walker got a lot of publicity last week.
So Vaunt was kind of my
Yeah.
escape from a professional perspective. And kind of since getting out as well, as you'll know, people want to know what it was like and get some advice.
Yeah.
So I do some consultancy. It's a growth consultancy in the shape of understanding value proposition, understanding growth strategy, understanding go-to-market strategy. So
Yep.
I like go-to-market rather than sales and marketing. I hate both of those words.
Yeah. I use those words, so yeah.
Well, there you go. And really, plugging in all the tactical bits as well to hack marketing to accelerate
Yeah.
growth. So it's quite nice being kind of hands-on from that perspective as well.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my job, I guess,
Yeah.
because perfume.
So you're working with
doesn't
tech businesses
pay.
and agencies, though. Was
Yeah,
that or
brands and creative businesses.
yeah,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But brands, not tech business necessarily.
No, some brands.
Just,
Some brands.
yeah.
And then we've got a property tech business, which is nearly finished development,
Nice.
which will be going out soon. It's a bit of a disruptor from a property tech perspective. And we also are launching because we're trying to eat the food chain from a beauty product perspective.
Right.
So Vaunt is our product. We have another business which we are close to launching. We're just waiting to sign a couple of deals with a few more.
Is it
brands.
vegan aftershave?
It's definitely not vegan.
Okay.
Although actually Vaunt is apparently, was to be confirmed, vegan.
It's edible.
It's apparently
is it?
vegan, yeah.
Well, do you know, listen, they should
and-
veganaftershave.com. I mean,
And sustainable as well. So
Wow.
our cellophane is completely biodegradable.
That
Wow,
domain's
Yeah.
available.
Everything's recyclable.
yeah, he's got that. All he does is register domain names every time a client mentions something.
So the beauty business, it's a retail business, and that's where we sell other kind of niche and artisan beauty products as well.
Okay.
And that has been a lot of fun
Yeah.
setting that up.
Nice.
And the brands are falling over themselves to get on. We've been doing some brilliant deals, sale or return, getting some really favourable terms. But the brand and the tone of voice is very, very pointy.
Nice.
It's not for everyone.
All right.
Yeah, but we want to take the
That's good.
bullshit
It's
out
gotta
of the
be
beauty
unique.
space. There's so much bullshit in the perfume space, and this comes down to value proposition. So much bullshit. Does that? I mean, you're the kind of the average customer, right? Are you bothered about what's on a perfume pyramid, like a note pyramid? Do you care what white cedar smells like?
Pete does.
No, I mean,
And silver musk.
but
and
Spencer's always telling me about his sandalwood finish on the,
he's talking about his sanding in his floor, man.
Mrs. G might be listening, but she did. The other day she was cursing the perfume advert on TV. Just saying,
Savage. Dior Sauvage, right?
It might have been Savage. Whatever it was.
Johnny Depp, I love, right?
Yeah, I think it might have been Savage.
I've got that on.
Do you know Tom?
Have you got that on? He's wearing it.
Oh my god, I'm surprised actually. It makes me retch. That perfume makes me retch. I haven't
Don't throw up on it.
Sorry, Ryan.
It's like it's my
You just puked on the executive producer.
kryptonite from a perfume perspective. I hate Dior Sauvage. Sorry, Pete.
No problem.
Do you know Tom Phillipson from We Are Studio?
Oh, yeah, Tom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
'cause
Tom-
He's over in. Is he Portland now? Am I going mad?
Not permanently. They've got an office there. I think.
Oh, yeah, I see him
And
again
and Oz.
over there.
They're
He's a
doing
nice
really
guy,
well.
Tom.
He's
Nice
another
guy.
Morpeth boy, another northerner.
Yeah, he is.
And,
yeah, good lad. Like him.
I was talking to him through the perfume
I follow him on
retail
Strava.
business.
That's how I know. I've watched his running.
Oh, mate, don't follow him on Strava. That boy, he's too fit. And he's creative brain, and he was like, I think we should remake the Dior Sauvage advert, but we'll do it up in Newcastle, And rather than driving a big American muscle car, we'll get a really banged out old Sierra GL or something.
Spoof it.
And I'll drive it up the Cresswell coastline. And I'll dig a hole in the Cresswell beach and I'll bury Johnny Depp's body in the hole. But that's the tone of voice for that. That's the strategy for the brand, you know, but provocative.
I don't know what you think about the whole Aviator Gin stuff, but have you seen that?
Ryan Reynolds.
Right,
yeah.
I just love all that stuff he does.
Well, I mean, how can you hate Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, but his sense of humor is just so wicked. It's
Yeah.
just so good. I subscribed to the YouTube channel the other day for Ryan Reynolds just to watch everything he does because it's just all so funny.
Have you seen the because Hugh Jackman's got a coffee brand?
Yeah, and then they had a war, didn't they?
Yeah.
That was quite good to watch as well. So listen, something I really want to finish off on today, and that is, I should have probably done something to talk about pitches, but we did have a little chat the other night. We met up for dinner and we talked about our funny pitch stories. And I think on air you should share.
Well, I'm glad we saved this to the end because when Ryan went through talking about his lost deals, you know, unless you completely fucked it, he said, this is probably one example of where you couldn't go back in.
No.
Yeah.
It was dead.
I think everyone must have a funny pitch story. I think people should send them in. But tell us what happened.
So I'm not going to name names, but it was a
Coca-Cola. No, I'm joking. Sorry. It wasn't.
It was it was for a very, very well-known movie trilogy, and it was a concept, you know, to a point about going in proactively.
Yeah.
It was a concept that we had, and we found our way.
Dumb and Dumber 2. Sorry, no, it wasn't really.
Not a trilogy, mate.
Was there 3? Sorry.
There's 3 in a trilogy.
Dull.
You know, we came up with the idea, we concepted it, we prototyped it, we found the people, we spent time building relationships, like all of the stuff that we were saying that you should be doing, we did, and we did a bloody good job at it. And we eventually, so it was for the movie, but obviously we were pitching to the movie company, and we eventually got the CMO to agree to take the call and hear about it with the view that, you know, she'll then take the market director who wanted to do it seriously and blah, 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 so on and so forth. And she said, I can only do this day, this time. And I was like, okay, yes, we can do that. But fuck, I'm in Florida on holiday, but that's not a problem. I'll take it. And the time zone works, all that kind of stuff. So I got up, went for a run, you know, did 10K, came back sweaty, jumped in the pool, got out, looked at the clock, and I was like, oh shit, like I need to get on this call. So I just wrapped a towel around me and sat down in front of my laptop. And as I opened my laptop, the call came through. So, you know, human instincts, I just reacted and answered the call. But rather than it being a Skype call, it was a Skype video call. And I'm sat there, basically reverse newsreader, like naked on top rather than on a bottom, dripping with what looked like sweat. And there's a room of like 10 senior ladies on the other end of the Skype call. And,
all dressed in corporate gear, looking at you.
And so literally, I just like threw my thumb over the camera and I said, oh, I'm really sorry. The Wi-Fi is really bad here. Can we just drop to a call?
But they've all seen you now.
Yeah, nipples and all. And it wasn't a pretty sight.
So I was thinking this week about other funny things. And Pete and I probably one day will make a list of all of the comic, because we had some funny episodes. But there was a couple of favourite ones. I remember Vim used to do our business development. He now has an agency called Giant, just rebranded, and he turned up to meet a prospective client, and had to go to her house. She had a jewelry business, and as she opened the door, her waters dropped right in front of him, and it was like, people say you can't go into labour that way, but she literally went into labour right in front of him, so that left him slightly traumatised. And then the other one was when I went with Natalie, who was my designer. She now works at Google, and Brett, who now has an agency called Folk, F-H-O-K-E. He one of my creative team at the time, and I took the both to a pitch for an interior designer, and she was in somewhere around that Ladbroke Grove area, and we went into the house, and there was this giant. It was a classic interior designer's house. It was giant angels and devils, and it was all very kind of whatever that kind of
Gothic,
gothic punk. No, it was very anyway. It was walked in, credible house, sat down, and I mean, I guess this is probably a good 15 years ago, where maybe there wasn't so many of the small bijou dogs around like there are now, or the cockapoos. She's there with her dog, and we're showing her all the creative work for this gorgeous new website we've designed.
Yeah.
And suddenly the dog starts shaking and literally flops down dead in her arms. So she stands up and she screams, "My dog's dead!" like this. And then she runs out the front of the house and she screams in the street, "My dog has died!" And like, we're in this room for like 15 minutes and she's run up the stairs to get her daughter run. We're just looking at each other going, what on earth are we to do? And then she walked back in with this dog, poor thing, and it just started shaking and it coughed and it came back to life again. Just, "He's alive!" And then sat back down again. I went, "Right, can you continue now, please?" We were just like, what on earth has just happened? Yeah. So crazy times, but we had a laugh.
Well, this is the thing, you've got to have a laugh in pictures, and because they can be stressful.
Yeah.
And, we used to play a little bit game. We used to try and hide song lyrics in our pictures.
Oh, right.
And the one that people could never get past if they knew that it was in there was, because obviously mobile,
I can't believe you used to hide song lyrics.
Lyrics.
I love that.
My favourite was, wherever, whenever, because it's a Shakira line.
Did everyone start laughing? And
obviously you weren't allowed to laugh in the pitch.
Yeah.
But I thought it's a good technique to make sure, as long as your team can handle it, keep people sane during the pitch process and have a little bit of fun with it as well.
Do I mean, that just reminds me of the story that, remember Adam Graham, he when he had to, I don't know whether it was at Saint or one of the agencies there, they had a big pitch on and they did the whole CSI board on the client. So everything about one of the particular team, where, what music she was into, everything. And then when they came into the office to do the pitch, they knew that her favourite song was Mr. Brightside by the Killers. So they made the office song music play that song. They primed her. She came in and she went, "I love this song." And someone overheard her saying it. And I was like, that's clever. That's clever. Really,
that's clever.
Got her walking into her favourite music. And so that's quite clever. So you'd be a little bit cynical now every time you go into an agency and hear your favourite song playing. You're like, what's going on? So listen, it's been a real pleasure. We've had a great conversation, great chat. And yeah, thank you very much for giving up your time to come here and spend time with us.
I appreciate the men's cologne tips as well.
Yeah. Anytime. Follow at Ryan the Perfumer on Instagram. And hashtag hate Savage. And you'll see my post.
I've got this feeling that he's going to be going home this weekend and swapping out.
I've already messaged.
If you want some recommendations,
you can sell it on eBay.
Go to vauntlondon.com and there are 3 incredible fragrances there.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm obviously impartial.
Very impartial advice. Thank you.
Nice packaging. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed the episode.
Very much so.
Good. And thank you for joining us. As always, thanks to my guest Ryan for giving up his time to come today. Everyone who comes here, does give up their time to and they have to travel out to sunny Hampshire as well to do it, which is not easy for people in London, so or anywhere else in the country. So yeah, thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the episode and tune in hopefully next couple of weeks for our next episode. Thank you very much.